Okay, so we finished till Maitri Karuna. Now we are coming into some more of them. So Nirmama, not mine. So Namama, that is what when we do prayers we say it is Namama. A question comes, how do we see this Nirmama, that is without mindness, no mind. So the experiment again is to do through disconnecting the sense object, that is sound as not mine. Actually, how I do it is that the ear is not mine and the sound also is not mine. Reason being, everybody has ears. Every insect, from insect to animal to humans, if we can see, everyone has a ear. So it is no special of mine to have a ear. So this, I am not a special being to possess the ear. So everyone has a ear, so it is not mine. And the sound which comes is also not mine. Any sound comes when there is an ear. If there is no hearing ability, then the sound will pass through but cannot be heard, and the person cannot do anything about it. Let's say I am having a hearing deficiency, then I cannot hear. Now same thing with sight. I am wearing spectacle because I am not able to see properly. So the sight which is coming is also not what I am expecting it to be, so I cannot say that it is mine. So neither the sight is mine and things that are seen is also mine. The eye and the sight both are not mine. Then the tongue, from which I taste things, there are 6 flavors that I did not create it. So the taste and the tongue are not mine. And then the body is not created by me. If it was created by me, then I should be able to say where what should be there. But as I can see in front of the mirror that I was not like this when I was born, and every day it is changing. Okay, so the color of hairs are changing. There are lot many white hairs on the head than what it used to be last year, and the mustache last year had good amount of black hairs. Now some white hairs have started to come. So the body cannot be mine, and the tangible things, that is whatever I am touching, is also not mine. Okay, so they both are not mine. So like that I can do for all the remaining, including the mind and the thought. This is my experience of, when I say my, I don't have any other word to express it out, but this is the way it is done. So now I open up for the other 3 to say what is the problem with this mindness. How do you practice?
We'll follow same sequence.
Yeah, same sequence like yesterday. Lata and Padmashri and Bhatt.
This is the difficult one for me. So I keep what I do is I keep my hand somewhere and I keep observing it, and then seeing that it is not mine, or it is like an equipment that we are trying to move. And so that's what I keep trying to do. But then, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can hear, no problem.
Okay, because I'm not using my headphones.
It's okay.
Okay. So that's what I do. I keep looking at my hand, keep on looking at my hand, and then seeing that it is not mine. Or after some time, I feel okay, it is something else. But beyond that, it is very difficult for me. As full body or in general, I cannot say, I don't get that feeling that things are not mine. There are certain things which I feel is mine.
Okay.
So that is, and then I also try to see that there is some other energy within me that is there same for everybody. So it doesn't matter whether I eat or somebody else eat. It is the same. So in those ways also I try to think and then try to contemplate. But then I am still not out of that, telling that this is not mine and so on. So that is still there. But I keep trying.
Okay, very good. Yeah, Padma Shri.
Because in this one I am not that much. I always felt okay, the whole thing I look at it like a drama, but that is not that it is not there on for 24 or 24 hours of the day. I don't do it part by part, but I try to see myself as a part of the whole drama which is going on. Everybody is playing a part and I play a part. It looks like dialogues that have been given to me and I tell it. But I have not looked at it from parts to parts.
Okay.
So for me, I do have something which is very clear. But this kind of drama thing, I do it like one, meaning it's almost like a fun activity that I have from very young. I used to do it, and now also I try and I keep doing it now also from that perspective. Not thinking to it to be like a spiritual activity or some awareness meditation. I don't do it like that. This is a fun activity I've been doing, but I feel that this has got a lot of relevance to the spiritual aspect that we are all a part in this whole thing, and the conscience is outside of this. Outside of the body, and all of us are doing some parts in the whole system. That feeling that I've played around with for a long time.
Okay. Nice.
Vilas, you have to give me now a problem statement clearly because I'm a little bit confused. Not clarity is not there in the question for me.
No, what is your way of doing this nirmama, not mine?
Not mine, right? Okay. So far I have grown throughout by possessing only. This, the toy, this is mine, and this house is mine. My father, mother, mine, like that. My school, like that. My attachment was highest throughout. Once I started attending this this Bhagvadgita class of Paramarthanandaji, then I have realized that there is a huge difference between my original thinking and the in reality. From that day, I can say it's around 2000, how many? Maybe some 6-7 years. From that day, after going through all these 250 hours of classes, I have understood that it is me is different and all other things are different. There is no connection, and there is no question of feeling that it is mine. There is no connection. But what happens when you come to this so-called real world? Again, that attachment starts. This is my project, this is my people, and this is my goal, and all that comes. And again, when I start listening to spiritual that morning, evening, again it gives a feel that, oh, that's different, this is different. Why unnecessary I'm worrying? I should not worry. So in this circus, what I have achieved is the true sense of it is not mine is going now very quickly into my mind. I am also able to resonate with that very properly. Now I am trying to bring that spirituality into my work. That shift I am trying to do. And most of the time when I listen in the morning and evening, listening to you in the morning and plus other one, and also in the evening, I feel that I am going in the direction of Namama. This is not mine. But moha is there. But how to cut that moha is a challenge. But nowadays I feel that that is also, when you sit for Sandhyavandanam, that moha is also goes away. You just Nothing is mine, water is different, hand is different, everything is different, and I am different. That feeling comes.
Good. Very nice. Okay. So then if that nirmamaha happens, then nir ahankara happens on its own. I don't have to do anything for this purpose specially, because that the sound and the ear are not mine, so there is nothing to possess. So what has benefited me over this period, especially last whole year, if I can see it, is that by disengaging the sense object to the senses, I am able to see that it's the consciousness which is making this meeting happens. If it is pure consciousness, the mind doesn't really bother much. I'll give an example. Let's say if I were to call my wife, and then I have this my wife inside the mind, and then the sound and the ear will say that you are calling your wife, because that is what the consciousness is directing, or the mind is directing the consciousness to make the mind believe that there is a wife. What if I can make it just like a being in the samsara which is as helpless as me? So then there is no ahankara at all, because there is nothing to possess. All the items, whatever is there right now, including the ones you have gifted, is just the Prithvi element which cannot be possessed. So there is no ahankara to say that I possess something. That possession orientation can only come when it makes it as mine. So the thing what you have provided, it should be turned as mine. Then the ahankara is going to come. So when I see it like the 5 elements with 5 sense objects and the 5 senses, then there is really nothing to gain out of it, and there is nothing to lose out of it also. So this is what I have found on the ahankara. So you have to tell me in this 1 year where we have not met face to face, what is the level of ego you think I possess now? So all the 3 can say, that is better. In the same pattern what Bhatt had put. So it is Lata, Padmashri and Bhatt.
From the initial days only, you had very less ego glass. So, and that time also I used to feel that you still have, now I do not know because I am not meeting you, but I still felt that you have a lot of attachment towards your wife and son. So you still feel your son is yours.
Right.
And other than that, I guess most of it, maybe 95%, you were kind of egoless. So that's the reason where people are able to easily interact with you. So, but I wouldn't say that it is completely zero.
Right.
It is there somewhere. It is there in different times at different places, I feel.
Okay. Nice. So any change from the last 1 year, now that we are not meeting face to face, but voice and the other way of talking also would put that ego?
Yeah. So, of course, you have improved from the previous year to this year because the way you talk has changed. And it has become more accommodating, and you don't have that. Earlier, you had that kind of strict views. This is what it is. And that's the way you used to tell. And very convincingly, you tell that. But then, with a lot of conviction, you will tell, okay, that's what it is. But right now, at least, I guess you have a little bit softer in that stance. And at least the way you talk has become much more accommodating.
Okay, that is good. So the transition has happened after I experienced all the 5 sense objects going away from the senses. That much I can confidently say.
Yeah.
I've been explaining to you what I was doing of each one of those senses.
Yes.
So after that I was very sure that transition has happened. Earlier it was
Yes.
earlier it was more of intellectual, meaning
Yes.
that was
The difference I can see.
yeah.
The difference I can see. Yes.
Okay, good. So then I don't have to explain. Perfect.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And so before you say something, this practice, that practice, I never used to really 100% believe those practices will work. Okay, you used to tell a lot of things, right? Before also, do this, do that. Even though I used to do, but then I didn't have that 100% conviction that it will work. So, but now I am more open because I feel that you have already experimented and telling. Maybe it will work for me and maybe it doesn't work for me. But then I try with a lot of conviction. That difference is there in
Okay.
the last 1 year.
Okay. That's also nice. Yeah. So last 1 year the experimentation have been too much. Before I used to talk from the knowledge what I have, but some of those knowledge lacked the proper experience to say how it is achieved. Right now I have both. That's what is the change.
Yeah, that is the change because when you talk, somehow the other person can pick that, even though it is not told that way.
Right.
So when you tell that, the other person can pick it up, whether it is correct or not. So that difference is there definitely. And I have liked the last 1 years and the practical sessions more than those lectures actually.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Even at that time I used to feel what is that I'm doing, because it will become like a parrot kind of thing, right? So you then I then start competing with other discourses what people give, and then that doesn't lead anywhere. But that time I had good knowledge, but have I really experimented in that way? No. I had experimented but not much gained out of it. Now it is good. So it's working.
Yeah.
And now I don't have any possession orientation, actually, to be honest. Now I don't claim that this is what I have read and understood or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. So that's the change what I find in myself. In anything, I don't claim it as mine. So it is helping me to get out of that ego consciousness. Anyway, thanks, Lata. So Padmashri, what do you feel? What is your observation?
My observation of you, is it?
Yeah, your observation of me from the time we started, let's say, and it was more like what Lata said, right? So it was more of having a view. So at that time, Bhatt had made me a Buddhist. So then he used to feel that I am promoting Buddha's teaching, and it looked obviously like that, of whatever reason. And then we started on Shankara and all that, and then we progressed. But I feel I had this view of myself that I know so many things, even though it was not visible or it was visible, I don't know, but I felt it. From the last 1 year, I can see that that is not there from the time I started working out on the sense object and senses. And Lata explained whatever she explained about what she thinks, which is better to look from the other person perspective when we talk about the ego. So I'm just asking you, what do you see is a change or no change or whatever? What is that your view from the ahankara or the ego perspective?
Will us to be truthful, I have not put too much thought on how you have changed. I have been only thinking about whether I have changed or not. So
Okay.
from that perspective, I am not perhaps the right person to even meaning make okay, it's only an observation, it's not a judgment, but then I feel that yes, you read so much more, but that is not in this 1 year. You read so much more, you have you interact with so many people, you pick up so many things on the way, and I think you utilize all of these in a very nice way. You share your experience with us. So I have always felt that um, basically from my perspective, I feel I interact very much less when compared to Lata or Bhatt. So for me, it has been constant. I only know that you have a lot more knowledge, and you pick up so much things on the way, and you share it with all of us. Without that, I feel you share it without inhibition. So for me, that is the observation I have made. I have not really seen any meaning. What you were and what you are and all, I have not been able to make an observation on that.
No problem. Okay. Sounds good. What do you say, Bhatt?
Yeah, I think you have given me one title that I used to think about you like Buddhism. Actually, that is true. Initial part. It was very tough for me to understand why. Already there are a lot of things within this so-called three acharyas. I was thinking why Buddhism is required here too, because I was biased through Vedic understanding through some Gurujis like that. Then I also started studying that what is this Buddhism. Then understood that Buddhism, Shankara, and all these put together, it is like a same philosophy. But every time you used to give a color of Buddhism while talking to us, because you had a lot of knowledge there, a lot of knowledge, including that practical Sanskrit, which was slightly away from our this Sanskrit. Okay, and then I thought whether am I now drifted to away from this one, because it was very, very tough for me to go away from existing whatever I have studied. Then what I have done, I saw a big change in you, because as something called Adhyayana, Nididhyasana, Adhyapana. These three things are very important. Adhyayana means you study a lot. How you study is unknown. It may be downloading from somewhere to your mind. That is Adhyayana. I think you're fantastic there in that. Any topic, anything you have there. Okay. Then Nididhyasana. This is one thing I've seen a change in you. Nididhyasana is nothing but whatever you studied, you are trying to put into practice. Probably looking at us, say so-called Shishyas, you might have thought somebody is in front of you, because you are so much tempted to tell whatever you learn to others. Those who are interested, they used to be close to you. Those who are not interested, they used to slowly go away because of their interest is something different than spirituality. I have seen that. And interested people are around you all the time. And those who had no knowledge of spirituality, they are immediately connected with whatever you said. And with some connection, they had some Dundwa, Buddhism like me, Buddhism and so Vedic teaching like that. And what I've seen is through Nididhyasana technique, you brought the samanvaya between these two. Because then the color of Buddha or color of Shankara or even color of any other acharyas, you removed from our mind, telling that spirituality is only one. And that is possible only using this technique. Those techniques are what you have practiced, which is not mentioned in any books. That means keep this the Panchendriyas under your control and then experience yourself. Generally, all those things happen in any Shastra when you study, maybe somewhere, and till then it is most of the Shastras only continues. So there, what I have understood is that you have put that into practice. Then he said, I got this yesterday. Wow, let me explain next day. Then that big change I see. When you are explaining that, you forgot about yourself. That means you are a human being or something. You are purely talking like a Atma. Most of the time when you start. When it comes for a discussion, it's different. Again, you have to bring all your experience to talk. Otherwise, the fresh when it comes, it was the pure knowledge, that was spirituality. There, that aham is not there. It was zero. Asam aham was zero, but it was temporary. As a human being, yes, again we will come back to our normal. That I have observed. And that growth of your experience, you have again and again put into practice during adhyapana. When you are teaching us, I think that used to come to your mind again and again, and you have refined a lot. And in 1 year I think it's amazing progress, because your interaction with the outside world was less than this what used to be, coming to cab, coming to office, talking to so many people and talking. That energy and all, you got it to practice, I think. You have interacted with the limited people, those really showing interest in spirituality with you. That means the connection was good, environment was good, and the progress during this pandemic was fantastic. That much I can say. Now when you talk, I don't think you refer so many times, say Acharya's names, because we are all now slightly above that, even though Shankara name or Buddha name is there. But we talk about only essence. So when you are talking essence, that is aham thing is gone. Even Shankara, if I say it's aham only, because it's my Shankara or my Matva. So those things are not there with us. It is reduced a lot. So we are trying to understand Gita in a true sense of Gita. So your level of ahamness degree has come down a lot, and you don't talk negative things also. I think it's reduced. I don't say don't talk at all, but it has reduced a lot. That means when aham is going away, automatically there is nothing to get angry or get happy or anything. You will be in the most of the time you are in that samasthiti, neutral way of dealing with the things. This is my observation, and the journey has been good, and I could see that positive change in you. And we are getting, every class we are getting something good for us, because we don't feel our thinking, or at least my thinking and your thinking is different. The conflict is not there. It's only we are trying to understand the clarity. That is something called vikshepa. We are trying to take away that layer and trying to get into a little deeper understanding of this spirituality. I found you are much more refined person now.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. So that's the reason I asked, because this other one, ahankara, that only somebody can say. I cannot say I don't have, and then it very clearly shows that I have. So it becomes like a oxymoron. Anyway, so the next one is samadukka sukha kshami. So now this is one thing which will happen only when we are able to cut out the five sense object. So this is the practice what needs to be done for dukkha and sukha, because there is always going to be pleasure of the sense object and the dukkha of going it off, of that going off. Let's say my wife goes off and my son goes off, because there is minus in that son and wife, like what Lata informed. Then these two are the objects of the senses. So the mind is attached to the object of the senses for a very simple fact that the sense objects are been there from the time the marriage has happened. Just like the laptop or computer or whatever is there from the time it is bought, these objects are also stay the same. So it would become very difficult for anybody to let go of those things which make some sense to that person. So all objects make some sense to the person. So one thing I found is that unless this consciousness is separated out of the mind in terms of feeling and perception on sense object, this samadukka sukha is not going to happen. And because that doesn't happen, the forgiving nature is not going to be there. We might forgive somebody out of love and affection or whatever we have towards that person, even though it's an enemy. The first and foremost what has to go is the enemy and friend, which is again an object of senses. So if I cut that object of senses itself and take it as like a prithvi dhatu, let's say any person coming in front of me is Prithvi, so there is nothing to hate and nothing to love. It is just Prithvi Dhatu, and the combination with which the Prithvi, Apo, Vayu, Tejo and Akasha are there are decided by consciousness, for which mind cannot feel and perceive. Mind doesn't even know that this consciousness which is doing it. The movement is created by Vayu. So if I can master over either one of these elements out of 5 elements and see it in its purest form, then this Sukha Dukkha will go away. This is my present experience. I don't know what is that you are doing relating to this Sama, Dukkha, Sukha and Kshami. So again, Lata, you can start.
But you said if the others are not established, it will not be 100%, right?
Yes.
Because the not mine, so it has to start from there. Not mine, and then Ankara will go, then only you can have
Yes.
equanimity, and then forgiveness, and then only you can have this
Yes.
Sama Dukkha thing.
Yes.
So what I can say is that when something happens which is good or which is bad, there is a kind of impact for some time. And the only thing I can say is that I become aware of it. That I am happy or I am sad or whatever. So I'm aware of it, and then when I look at it for some time, then it goes away. So, but not 100%. So it is not that that I am always and 24 hours full time that I am in that kind of equality. But it has improved a lot from the last 2 years to now. Especially in the last 1 year, there is a kind of tremendous improvement, I can say. So I became, I don't get carried away when I'm happy, and I don't feel so down when I'm sad. So that much I can say. Then I also keep looking at all the other people as well, and I also feel that they are also similarly in same kind of situations or some kind of problem they are also having, and there's no point in getting angry with them and so on and so forth. Or when they say something or they do something that I should feel bothered by it. So I can say that I have improved a lot, and all that tsunamis there's no tsunamis anymore. That much I can say.
Good. Very, very nice. Yeah, Padma Shri.
I will go after Bhat because I have still not been able to.
Okay, you are talking about Sukha and Dukkha, right, Vilas?
Yeah, Sama, Dukkha, Sukha. That means equanimity in Sukha and Dukkha.
Yeah. Because most of my time is with the what you call this practical world, what we are doing, office and home, and I have seen both sides, Sukha and Dukkha, and clearly it's experiential, Sukha and Dukkha. So when Sukha comes, you feel it is because of yourself and teamwork, either home also, even outside. But when a Dukkha comes, you always get a feel that why it is coming to me, and suddenly the energy. What I have seen is that spirituality is the only booster I got to overcome this that Dukkha related to overcome. Otherwise, my reaction to Dukkha was always losing energy and not able to do things, and not sure that when that Dukkha will go away. Now I can clearly visualize it's a cyclic. Anything Dukkha comes now, it's 100% guaranteed that it is going to go away through mrityu, because that Dukkha also has to die. That reality I have understood, but when I go into the deeper practice of this spirituality, so that take away your Atma and this 5 Panchabhutas, that time I am able to visualize much better way. That Sukha and Dukkha itself is something, it is created in the mind, Till then I was thinking it is a reality. Now I know that it is there in the mind. If you don't give that mind attention to that either sukha or dukkha, there is no worry. So this is that some techniques in 2-3 months I am able to understand. The practice is still pending, but there is a great technique which has come from our discussion, your teaching. That's my experience.
Okay, very nice. So that will give an equanimity to the mind. So we have to cut the sense object. So basically how we do it, there are various practices that can be done, but I found this one to be working in the sense that taking sound as sound and sight as sight. So if we can work that out, and then I found that it helps in establishing equanimity on sukha and dukkha, and forgiveness becomes the second issue.
One more thing.
Yeah,
One more thing I was thinking earlier, sukha and dukkha. Because in mind I was thinking that is me. Now with the spirituality, it gives a feel that there is nothing called sukha and dukkha. It is unnecessarily created inside the mind.
Correct. Very true. It is a state of mind. The mind gets deflected by what is happening outside. So when the sense objects are cut from the senses, then there is no sukha or dukkha. It is only equanimity.
Yes, I think this is the fantastic mantra of the spirituality.
Yeah, and then you are blissful all the time. If we don't have sukha and dukkha,
Yes.
you are not compromising on that shanti at all. You are having shanti, and that is the reason in the previous shloka we found that he says shantihi anantaram. I think we just finished that.
Shanti Anantaram.
We finished that one. 1 minute, I'll tell you which one. One minute. Shreyaha hi jnanam abhyasat jnanat dhyanam vishishyate dhyanat karma phala tyagat shantihi anantaram. Verse number 12. Before we started on this.
Correct.
So this piece you don't have to compromise. The sukha and dukkha will cut the piece. The moment we are in sukha, the back side of that, like a coin, is dukkha.
Correct.
So when that thing stops, when the sukha stops, dukkha ensures, and when dukkha stops, sukha ensures. So you cannot have any state which is 100% sukha, and you cannot have any state which is 100% dukkha. So there is always non-equanimous situation. We want sukha, but that thing will go away, turning itself into dukkha. And then nobody wants dukkha, but after some time that dukkha goes away and transforms itself into sukha. So now the person gets attached to that sukha, pleasure of life, which is temporary. So the shanti is not there. And if shanti is not there, then the forgiving nature will never happen. Because I am troubled. Somebody took away my sukha. So I don't like it. So I don't forgive. This is the cycle. So when we remove the sense objects from the senses, then there is always shanti. And when there is shanti, there is no sukha and dukkha. When there is no sukha and dukkha, there is always forgiving nature. Because you don't want to let go of shanti. Or shanti will never leave you, whichever way we want to put it. So that's the advantage of this. So we need to master on the cutting the sense objects. Yeah, but
a human being always thinks that sukha he is going to get. So he is trying to, through his effort, he is trying to get sukha.
correct.
But from where the dukkha enters unnecessarily, it keeps on coming even though we don't want it. Where
No,
we have created that space.
no, dukkha is entering because everything is anitya. That is what Krishna also explains. The anitya nature is dukkha. You cannot have anywhere stability, right? The dhruva nature is not there.
Yes.
And because there is no dhruva, that is stable nature, there is always asuraksha, which is insecurity. So when there is insecurity and instability, then you cannot have only sukha, because sukha can only come when you have stability and security. None of the objects of the senses can have stability and the security. Why? Because the objects keep on changing forms. They don't remain the same. So there is always unstable environment and insecure environment. So the only thing we have invented.
Now, does this mean?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, does this mean the change of this prakriti is dukkhamaya? It is also sukhamaya, right?
No. See, the prakriti is always changing. Prakriti, there is nothing other than changing. But the thing what is changing here is the mind wants to change that prakriti. That's the problem. So when mind wants to change what is changing, it cannot have two changes, right? It can only have one change, which is change itself. So it is always unstable and insecure. If the mind were to accept the change, then you become stable. The mind becomes stable. So then you are in security.
I'll give one example. You can help me to understand sukha and dukkha there.
Yeah.
See, now it's a hot summer. I feel like I need a cold immediately. I enter into a AC room, or somebody gifted me one AC, my home. Now suddenly I feel so comfortable within that AC, and I feel now sukha. If I sit that in AC for a long time, it's very chilly, it's very cold. I feel, oh, it's dukkha now. Now let me go to little warmer one. I may come out of that room. Now I feel more comfortable. Okay. Now what is the reality? What is then really happy or good one? When you move from cold to hot, you feel comfortable. Very hot to cold, you feel comfortable. If you are there, for example, say your room temperature 24 degrees, and there, I think that's the best temperature to be enjoy. But if you sit there also, after some time you feel, oh, this is boring. And where is sukha in these three stages? One is room temperature, one is higher temperature, one is a lower temperature. When we move one to one, we feel comfortable for some time. After that, we feel this is not good place. We feel something inside dukkha. Really, where is sukha in that and where is dukkha here?
See, the thing is, sukha is the comfort feeling what you get. That is the only sukha. There is no other sukha other than feeling comfort. But then when you are staying in the same, the body doesn't stay the same. It keeps on changing. So you will again feel dukkha. Now the equanimity is accepting temperature as temperature, not as hot and cold. It is just temperature. So what Krishna also mentions in earlier chapter where we have covered is that Shita Ushna Sukha Dukkheshu Sama Buddhihi. So Shita Ushna, heat and cold. You need to have a Sama Buddhi. Sama Buddhi means accepting it as temperature. It's not your temperature. So like what you said is 24 degrees. If it is 23 degrees, you feel bad. If it is 25 degrees, you feel bad. That means the dukkha arises when it is at 25 or 23. But when it is 24, you feel boring. Because the consciousness is boring. Basically, because it doesn't do anything. The mind, after it becomes 24, forgets all about the 24. So it wants something else now. because that is stabilized. So when things get stabilized, you see sukha. When you see things are unstable, becomes dukkha, because there is an insecure feeling.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think I understood. What you're telling is, when you think at 20, say 30 degrees, you want, say, lower temperature. The moment you got that lower temperature, you feel sukha temporarily. But if that lower temperature continues for long, you feel uncomfortable. That means during summer and winter, we feel something uncomfortable. In hot summer, for example, the reason is the prakriti is changing, but our mind is not ready to accept it.
Yes.
That's the reason of dukkha, right?
Correct.
So it says that mind also tune it to prakriti, so that you have no issues. Whatever is the reality, and accept it.
Exactly. So either you have to accept to Purusha, or you have to accept to the Prakriti. And since mind is part of Prakriti, but what has happened is that mind wants to establish separately, other than what the environment is all about. So it feels, it gets into dukkha, because it is not what it is expecting it to be. So let's say I come to Subramanya in the month of March, let's say, and we both will drive to your hometown. Then it will be sultry climate. For you, you are used to it, but for me, I am not used to it, right? So now what I do is, I will start complaining to you that it is so hot, your home doesn't have a air conditioner, in my home I have a air conditioner, all of that, and you get really worked up by my complaints, because I am not accepting to the environment what I am right now. The environment of Subramania is totally different than an environment of Bangalore. But I want the Bangalore weather, or whatever weather I am in, to be copied into Subramania, which is not possible.
Yes.
So that is dukkha, because I am carrying that load of Bangalore into Subramania. Had I dropped Bangalore wherever it is, and had accepted to the temperature of Subramania, there wouldn't have been any dukkha at all in the first place, because there is no sukha at all. It is a perceived sukha. So in everything we do, whether it is our children or parents or job or whatever, it is all the same. We have a perceived sukha. So the output of that, when it doesn't work, is dukkha.
Yes. Clear.
Okay. So now we are at 9:25. Let's see whether we can complete one. Kshami, we already spoken about it. So when we are having the sama dukkha sukha, then the equanimity helps you to forgive everything about yourself. The past, whatever was experienced, you will forgive. No matter whether I was a sinner in the past, or I was an egoistic in the past, or I was whatever I was in the past, I will be able to forgive, because there is nothing to hold on to. Like, three of you explained to me about ahankara from your perception about me. Now Lata made a comment that you had, or you have, attachment towards your son and wife. The moment I take that and say, how can Lata say like this? That means I am lacking something. I have added dukkha into it. So now I am not forgiving myself, because I wanted to come out of this wifeness and sonness. But Lata is able to find out that I still have attachment towards son and wife. Even though she has not met me for the 1 full year, but she is able to find out that I still have. Whereas I always considered that I don't have. So who has to convince whom? Should I convince Lata that I have no interest any longer, or I don't have any attachment towards wife and son? And if I say, if I were to prove that, what would Lata get? She would only say, yeah, very good, Vilas, that means what you said, you are doing it. But the effort I am putting is unnecessary because I am not able to forgive myself. Now I go and explain this to Lata and she says, no, I still don't believe that you have come out of it. Now I get agitated to an extent that I don't want to forgive her either because there is dukkha. So whoever gives dukkha to me, whether it is given by myself to myself or somebody is giving me dukkha, they both will make me not to forgive. So when there is no dukkha, then it is very easy to forgive because there was no sukha in the first place. So three of you appreciating would not really take me to heaven, and three of you giving me whatever constructive feedback or negative feedback or whatever feedback you want to give shouldn't take me to hell because you are literally laying things what you feel or what you perceive about me. So if I am able to see perception as perception and feeling as feeling, which is what mind does, then sukha and dukkha will go away because that heat is the perception. Because I am feeling hot by your words.
But Vilas, I have one question here.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I have one question here. But then what is the purpose of asking them? Because you have sought it, right?
Yes.
You have sought the feedback.
Yes.
And you are going to take it but for that we could have just stopped without taking it, right? The perception, you're saying after giving it, you're saying that is that person's perception, so I should leave it.
No,
right?
It is about forgiving. See, we are talking about forgiveness. That at that time I was talking about ahankara.
Right? No. But what I am saying is,
yes.
See, why is it that we are distinguishing? Meaning, if we wanted something very similar, then we listen and say, oh, okay, this is ahankara there or not there? We are trying to evaluate.
Correct.
If we are getting some answer which we feel it is not good, then we want to be forgiving. But then what I am saying is, isn't it that we have to evaluate ourselves, and that should be sufficient? It is not. Not really somebody else.
No, Padmashri, this is a two-way sword. So let me explain one first side of the sword and we can look at the second side.
Vilas, I had to join one meeting, but this question is very interesting to me also.
Okay, so
maybe we can continue.
No.
And or we can, this will take around 10 minutes, I am very sure. It's
I
very
know
good
that
question.
For that reason, tomorrow certainly I'll start with this.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is Saturday, right?
Yes,
so Monday will forget.
Monday. So you have to hold on.
Monday. Nale dina.
Yeah. So what is the question? Why the feedback is taken?
Yeah, the feedback. What are you going to do with it?
Is a feedback required? Meaning, is a feedback required for this kind of a thing? Because it is again a perception of some other person.
Yes.
And then when it is good for us, we say, okay, this is what Lata feels or this is what XYZ feels about me. But then when it is not good, then I should not get agitated, so I start to think that, okay, it is their perception of me.
No.
So then the purpose of taking a feedback is not.
Yes, Padma has touched the real root.
Yeah. See, actually today, Vilas, normally when you ask this question, I also asked you the opinion about three of us. Today I did not ask because I did not feel the need for it.
and
okay, I will join on Monday now.
Yeah. So
Padmashri, before closing, I appreciate your question, but we will answer it on Monday.
Sure.
All right.
It's just it is not because I want to ask this question for you, because this is the same thing which happens when we are doing also. So when we are seeking feedback, we always want to hear a good feedback, and when we don't hear a good feedback, we get agitated, and then after that magnanimously we just put it as, yeah, that is their perception. So I just want to understand, this whole thing does not really, being spiritual or being egoistic, not being egoistic, none of these things have to be evaluated by somebody else. It has to be evaluated only by us, is what I feel.
No, that is true. I do.
Okay, so I need to leave. Maybe both of you can continue.
No, I also need to leave. We'll take it on Monday.
Monday only will take it.
Okay then. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye. Bye.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Bye. Bye.